So here's a topic for perennial philosophy, still very under discussed. Parental narcissism and healing from this as a very specific type of trauma. I just stumbled across this book through or thanks to a search algorithm. I didn't previously know of Karyl McBride. But she is a well recognized trauma specialist who's been writing on the topic of narcissism and narcissistic trauma for decades. Okay, so first things first, let's remind ourselves that this is really heavy material. And if parental narcissism is something you think that you've been dealing with and you're reading this consciously and reflecting on it, this is a topic that's really going to pull you into the weeds before there's any real hope of finding the freedom that comes on the other side of just being able to fully accept the complete implications of the relational trauma that you've been through. So now we usually hear a discussion of narcissism in regards to a romantic partner, but this author makes it clear that getting to the root of the issue really needs to start with the family dynamics, narcissism within the family. And the reason I'm bringing this topic in here on this channel is because narcissistic injury in both directions is a core threat to our own ability to develop, integrate, and actualize our higher self. In the case of parental narcissism, the types of neglect that you've experienced create damaging internalized beliefs about yourself that really start you off in a series of emotional and relational deficits compared to those who received healthy validation and emotional nurturing. A parent who couldn't hold space for their own emotions, who disowned or projected the ones they didn't want to feel, this parent is not able to model or offer emotional intelligence. And so the child suffers delayed emotional development and a host of other related consequences. So, to quote the author, it's important to recognize that caring what your parents think of you is the core barrier to psychologically separating and developing a distinct self. So, children who had at least one parent who centered everything around their own needs grow up diverting spiritual energy into either overachieving in hopes of gaining missed recognition, or worse, internalizing the worst messages and self-sabotaging their own success, or a combination of each of these. So this book is really important for validating your experience, especially wherever you felt like you may have experienced a major life setback because of these damaging messages and behaviors that were either overt or implicit, but you have internalized them. So the author has created a 5-step recovery model, and she includes tools for monitoring our own narcissistic tendencies. So what's key here is that the narcissistic parenting doesn't only pertain to childhood. Obviously, it creates effects and patterns which can overshadow our entire life unless we literally do become conscious of these and change in complete self-awareness. And so I won't go over all 5 of these steps, but the first one is actually quite important, of course, and it is acceptance and grieving. So we need to be able to identify the reality of what's actually happened, and then, of course, to be able to process the trauma and the loss that we may feel all kinds of types of theft, really. A lot of the stories that are in this book are incredibly shocking to me. Like, they go beyond just trauma. Like, it seems like these are criminal. So the author uses a phrase which I really like, which is called emotionally orphaned, which is a common feeling. And of course, then there's issues like if you have children of your own, should there be any kind of contact with the grandparents, how much, how often. And this is all really hard because denial is such a huge part of the narcissistic family system. And it's just really difficult to come to accept the truth of our parents' limitations. But to quote the author again, she says, you will know you have mastered acceptance when you no longer expect your parent to be able to provide to be able to tune into you and provide empathy and support for the real you. So you can see, I'm sure, this is an almost bottomless topic. I will probably return to this in a future video. So be sure to leave a comment if you have any insights or questions you'd like me to cover. Overall, this is a book I do recommend. Even if you don't think narcissism was very high in your family, if you're a parent now, it will certainly help you get clear on how to make sure like you don't engage in any of these behaviors and potentially pass them on to your children, which is very possible and probable if they can't consciously heal from it. On a more positive note, of course, the author avoids like a black and white view. Having a narcissist parent, of course, doesn't mean they're all bad. Complicating the issue, they have also given us many good traits and abilities and gifts. And the whole point of this topic isn't about blaming parents or identifying as a victim. Of course, it's just the complete opposite of that. It's about seeing clearly where developmental needs were not met so we can begin or complete the work of reparenting ourselves. Now, while everyone needs to take on the task of meeting and healing their inner child in order to move on to more expansive spiritual progress, those who grew up in a narcissistic environment have additional invisible distortions to attend to, and it is possible to heal from these, but it does take considerable concerted effort. Okay, I hope this quick overview of the book has been helpful to you in some way. If you'd like to see more of these videos, let me know in the comments, and of course, don't forget to subscribe and get notified for future updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.